Tonight at 6, a domestic call in Sylvania escalates to an officer-involved shooting. What happened when the suspect returned to the scene?
What prompted some Columbus cafe workers to walk out and the request they're making?
Mayflies making a return to Northwest Ohio. What officials say to expect this year.
Live, this is NBC 24 News at 6.
The Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation is looking into an officer-involved shooting that happened early this morning on Black Oak Drive in Sylvania Township.
Sylvania Township police say an officer shot at a suspect who tried to hit him with a car. NBC 24's Sophia Pericone explains this started with a domestic violence call.
A quiet block in Sylvania Township erupted with violence around 4 on Monday morning after police were called to Black Oak Drive on reports of domestic abuse.
The on-scene investigation determined the suspect had assaulted his girlfriend and another female who was bleeding from the mouth.
But when Sylvania Township police arrived, they say that suspect, 26-year-old Devontae Bryant, took off in his girlfriend's car, intoxicated, refusing to stop for them.
The suspect failed to stop for the officer when lights and sirens were activated and fled northbound on US 23. No pursuit was initiated at that time per our department policy. It was a known suspect, so we didn't want to endanger anybody else.
Officer Logan Hosley stayed at the scene after the victims expressed fear that Bryant would return, and he did. That's when Officer Hosley, standing behind his own car door, instructed Bryant to get out of the vehicle.
The suspect accelerated his car toward the officer, striking the officer's driver's door and continuing down the side of the police car. The officer was pinned and trapped between his door and the car frame.
Officer Hosley, now stuck, shot Bryant at least 9 times in the bicep, neck, and shoulder areas, but he kept driving, hitting multiple parked cars before coming to a stop.
Officers approached on foot, noted the suspect's injuries, and immediately rendered first aid.
Sylvania Township Police Chief Paul Long said this wasn't the first incident with the couple. Since last September, officers responded to the home more than a dozen times and have even arrested Bryant's girlfriend for abuse in the past.
Calls ranging from domestic violence, assault, keep the peace, unauthorized use of a motor vehicle. So, yes, he's well known. It's an address we've responded to quite a bit.
Officer Hosley was treated for leg injuries and has been released. Bryant is expected to be released from Toledo Hospital tomorrow, but is facing multiple charges. Tiffin police have identified the man who was hit and killed by a train late last night. Officers say 33-year-old Damian Shada was walking across the viaduct near Riverside Drive. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Police say his death appears accidental, not intentional.
The Oregon Police Department needs your help identifying a man accused of stealing bikes. He was spotted driving a black vehicle when police say he stole a bicycle from outside of Walmart. Police say he later returned in a red truck to steal 4 remaining bikes he left behind. The bikes belonged to 5 juveniles in the Sylvania community. Employees at a Columbus cafe walked off the job over management's police discount policy. In the wake of the George Floyd protests, the North Star Cafe in Columbus suspended its 50% discount to police and firefighters, but then brought it back. Workers wanted it suspended and felt they needed to show support to the black community.
I'm personally out here today just because I know it's important. It's imperative on me to do everything that I can to use my whiteness for this movement and to show up, to just be a body in support of the black voices that are consistently fighting for better change in this country, and to just do all I can to just go where I'm called and shout as loud as I can.
In a statement, the cafe said it supports first responders and the movement for social change. The cafe also said it has made a donation to Know Your Rights Camp. It's a foundation that supports black communities.
Yet another beautiful day out there after a lovely weekend. That trend continuing as we get into the work week. For today, we mix things up a little bit. We've got that wind coming in off of the water, so cool right along the lake shore, mainly in the 70s. And as you get away from the lake, those temperatures really increasing. 82 for Toledo, 88 for Ottawa, Paulding, down through Van Wert. So we've got a little bit of heat out there for today. Humidity, though, very low. Our dew points in the 40s, 50s, so it feels very comfortable. Going to be very nice out there through the evening. Looking ahead to tomorrow, though, hot, humid conditions going to be heading our way. Our high temperatures well into the 90s for tomorrow. Our winds coming from the south and southeast. Not only do we get that heat, that humidity is going to be incredibly high for tomorrow. We'll talk more about that and how long it lasts coming up.
As we move deeper into June and Lake Erie starts to really heat up, the dreaded Mayflies will soon be returning to Northwest Ohio. NBC 24's Eric Zernick spoke with the director of the Lake Erie Center for this summer's outlook. He's out by the lake right now. So Eric, how bad is the Mayfly season looking?
Jamie, we really don't know how bad this season will be because the pandemic has prevented researchers from getting out on the water to study the bottom of the lake where the mayfly are growing right now. But we did get a few reports over the weekend of a couple mayfly sightings here along Lake Erie, and that means it's just days away until those swarms begin to descend upon Point Place, where I am right now, and other shoreline communities. Every June, hundreds of billions of mayflies come out of Lake Erie and evade areas along the shoreline.
Well, right now the mayflies are mostly still sitting on the bottom of the lake. They have grown to a large size and they are waiting to emerge from the bottom.
According to Thomas Bridgman, the director for the Lake Erie Center, the mayflies are waiting for the lake to heat up enough for them to be able to come up through the water and then hatch at the surface.
It's not a definite temperature threshold. It's sort of a culmination of how much warmth they've received over the spring in order to complete their development.
Although they are a nuisance, the mayflies only live for a very short time.
Well, once they hatch out from the lake and emerge from the lake and land on the shoreline, they only live a couple of days. They are there for one reason, and that is to mate and then drop eggs back in the lake.
The biggest factor in how large the swarm of mayflies will be is the weather when they are coming out of the lake.
What we see will largely also depend on the wind. If we get southerly winds, there may be a large hatch, but it may all end up in Canada. So wind direction plays a big part of this.
And there is some data that suggests the volume of mayflies may actually be decreasing over the last several years.
And according to the radar studies, the swarms have been declining over the last 5, 6, 7 years.
The best thing you can do to limit the number of mayflies around your home or business is to turn off the lights once the swarms begin to come out of the lake, as they are attracted to that artificial light. Reporting in Point Place, Eric Zernick, NBC 24 News.
All right, Eric, thanks. St. John's Jesuit High School welcomed back athletes and coaches today for summer conditioning to get ready for the fall sports season. However, students and staff members are required to abide by some guidelines while the coronavirus continues to be a threat. For Titans head football coach Larry McDaniel, he said it's great to see his team back on the field and start to have a sense of normalcy once again.
As a coach, this is what you live for. You know, the opportunity to come out on a beautiful summer summer morning and work with your kids. I mean, this is what we've all been striving to do over the last 3 months. So this is great. I mean, I can't be happier with our turnout today.
Some of those guidelines include not arriving earlier than 15 minutes before their scheduled workout. They'll have their temperatures taken at the door. If it's more than 100 degrees or if they're experiencing coronavirus symptoms, they'll be sent home. And they also have to practice social distancing and clean their hands.
I'm Scott Thuman in Washington with reaction to calls for defunding, even dismantling police forces across the country.